Welcome back, friends. So as I had mentioned in my video yesterday, those who follow me, my YouTube channel, I had mentioned that it will take some time for this whole thing to straighten itself out. Don't depend on just the Islamabad talks, even if they were to be successful, that all is great, hunky-dory and everything will be back to normal. It will not be. There were always doubts that everything would be straightened out in just one meeting. And for many who think that there will be a gap down on Monday and that's the end of it and further down and down and down, let me add another thing. America is also under a lot of pressure to close this war. So they are not interested to go in a big way. Consumer prices have risen 0.9% in the month of March. The biggest monthly gain since 2022, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The annual inflation has climbed to 3.5%. It is up sharply from 2.4% in February. The current war has cut global oil production by 9 to 10%, petrochemical production by 6 to 7%, and helium production by much more. Even returning to pre-war production levels, even if this war was to stop in just, let us say, a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, itself will take a lot of time. So that means inflation will continue to go higher. There is already a shortage of many goods which were finding it difficult to produce because of the shortage of gas, because of the shortage of power. Countries like Vietnam have cut down the production of even things like rice. So there's going to be an impact on food production. Fertilizers prices have shot up in the United States by more than 50%. So all this rise in the inflation is going to impact the consumer. Consumer sentiment is down in the United States. And as you see, the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index has also come down quite sharply. All this is impacting the American consumer, and with midterm elections round the corner, President Trump would be definitely eager that this all comes to an end at the earliest. Even otherwise, even if the midterm elections were not round the corner, it's not good, because the longer the inflation remains in an economy, the cost of borrowing goes up, mortgage rates go up, and it becomes difficult for it to sustain. Okay, so now inflation is global, it's worldwide, and it's going to go up. Interest rates will go up. Therefore, if they do not go up, at least it's difficult for them to come down in this scenario. So all this considered, today people are just dismissing that the Islamabad talks have failed. Vice President Vance is headed home, and the Iranian team will also be leaving because they could not agree to certain terms of the deal, such as the nuclear, the capability to make a nuclear weapon. America wants that they should not be attempting in a year, 2 years, not at all. Iran does not agree with it. Well, I think that, however, if I read Vice President J.D. Vance's statement, he also says that they have left the best and final offer on the table for Iran. So this is not over. Okay, there will still be the final and best offer which is left on the table. Still some scope for negotiations on a final can become yet another final, right? Is always there. If he's saying that he has left it on the table, that means Iranian team will definitely consider it once they go back home. So all is not done and dusted as yet. Yes, the markets will not like that on the headlines. Vice President saying that the bad thing is that there is no deal. The market may not like it so much. But this will also lead to a scenario that a complete dismissal of the Islamabad talks, and that now nothing is going to happen, and the war will start all over again in a big way and all that. I think some negotiations will continue. Of course, the war was the main thing, But I don't think that, although this is indicative in the statement of JD Vance that yet one final offer is there on the table, itself indicates people have not read that carefully, that some scope of negotiation still left. So some knee-jerk reaction in the markets could be expected, but I don't think this is doomsday. I even mentioned yesterday that this whole thing to straighten out will take some time. So we are talking of a couple of weeks. And let me be clear about that also, because many people like to leave open-handed, whereas I like to stick my neck out and say something which I would believe. But I think that it's not a doomsday scenario. It's not something that nothing will happen. And in Hindi they say achhe din aayenge. I think they will still come. Still some better days are ahead. So don't be so despondent just because of this Islamabad talks having failed to fructify into something which can be called as constructive. There were always doubts in terms of how it would, with so many differences, how this could have come to a quiet conclusion. But the very fact that that many things were talked about, including defreezing the Iranian assets. That means there was a lot of, if you're giving a final offer, that means all things considered, right? That means many things were considered, right? Including Lebanon and everything was considered. And one more thing I would like to add is that Vice President JD Vance said that he was in touch with with Marco Rubio, who is the Secretary of State, and with the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Now, why would and with the Chief of Staff, right? Now, he is also in touch with Scott Bessent. Now, Scott Bessent is a person who's a Treasury Secretary, finance man, like you have the somebody at the helm in like an RBI governor, right? I mean, he's a finance man. So he would be a person he would be in touch with when there is a consideration of defreezing the Iranian assets, right? So that means that there were many things considered, and I don't think this is doomsday. Yes, there will be a small, that's why I said in my video yesterday, only talking about gap up and gap down, which people, I'm not trying to, just harp only on these words, but these words cannot, because there's no common sense, there's no business sense involved. Whereas you cannot invest in a market, in a stock market, either from a trading perspective or from an investment perspective, without taking into consideration the entire rationale, the story, the theory, the background. Just blindly, oh sir, please tell us what is gap up, gap down. Okay, even if it is gap down on Monday, how does it, would you bet so much only on one trade? That's silly way to invest. What you need to do is to look at the overall perspective. I don't think this has closed the doors. There is something more you will hear, good and bad both. And there will be a lot of action over the next couple of weeks. This will take some time to straighten out. For those who have got the patience, and I believe that anybody who invests in stock market should have the wherewithal and the patience, they will benefit immensely. Those who panic, they will lose their shirt. To get to know more, you can join any of our groups, the Daily Prediction Group or the 2 weeks in advance predictions. Number to get in touch, 982-086-1044. Happy investing. Have a nice day.